And I said to him, well, look, do you know them really well? He said, yes, I've been doing business with them for quite a long time. I said, that's fine. This is what I'd like you to do. Call them, set an appointment, and then when you're sitting down in front of them, this is what you need to say. In my series of closing techniques, I want to talk about the rather powerful but complicated closing technique called the assumptive close. It's complicated because, first of all, we're always taught in sales that you should never assume anything. But the assumptive close is complicated because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to that critical point in the conversation where somebody has to ask for the order. Well, the assumptive close spins that on its head. It really requires your prospective customer to tell you why they're not going to place the order with you. And so that pressure point, if I can explain it that way, becomes inversed. And so whilst normally what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out what the problem is so we can show a solution, because that's what selling is. It's the transaction of your product or service for their money. And in order to make that happen, you've got to really figure out how you can solve the problem. But you've got to find out what the problem is first of all. Most salespeople don't ask enough questions, enough of the right questions, and they don't probe either. They don't try and really understand what the significance of the problem is in terms of the effect that it's having on your prospective customer's business. How big is the problem? What's the real effect? Is it a financial one? Is it a time one? Well, actually, the truth of the matter is it all comes down to finance. It all comes down to the fact that the problem they have is costing them money. It may be time, but time is money. It may be personnel, well, personnel costs money. It may be delays, well, delays cost money. So it does actually come down to money. But most salespeople don't actually get to the point where they're quantifying the actual problem in terms of the effect on the business. You're trying to get to the point where you can ask for the order. To do that, you've got to have demonstrated effectively that you can solve the problem. But the assumptive close works very differently. You see, what you're trying to do is you're trying to close all the avenues where a customer can give you a reason why they're not going to buy from you. And so through the process of asking questions, understanding the problem, and then demonstrating a solution, what you're doing is you're closing off all the doors where a customer might say, well, that's not going to suit our business, or that's not the solution we're looking for. So you get to the point where really they've got nowhere else to go. So they're not going to have to tell you why they're not going to give you the business. That's what the assumptive close is. You're working towards the point where you are closing off all the opportunities that stop your prospective customer giving you the order. It's complicated and it needs thinking, but it also needs an awful lot of preparation. And I've talked about preparation in a previous video. You have to understand the business you're talking to, the industry they're in, the type of problems they've got, and then when you're sitting in front of them, you need to understand how big their problem is. And as you talk about the solution you can offer, you need to be getting agreement at every single critical point in that conversation so that you get to the conclusion that essentially says, well, you're going to give me the order. That essentially means that what they have to do is give you a reason why you're not going to get the order. I'm going to cover this topic again because it is quite complicated. But think about it this way. If you've eliminated all the reasons why they're not going to give you the order, you then have to wait and understand why they're not going to give it to you. And in most times, there's no reason why not. Let me give you an example. I remember being at an event where I was asked a question by a guy called Nick. He was selling goods to do with promoting businesses, so he was promotional goods. And he said to me, look, I've been talking to a very good customer of mine. He's asked me to go away and find a solution for them that was unique. But we've been talking for 6 months now and he hasn't given me the order. What on earth do I do? And I said to him, well, look, do you know them really well? He said, yes, I've been doing business with them for quite a long time. I said, that's fine. This is what I'd like you to do. Call them, set an appointment, And then when you're sitting down in front of them, this is what you need to say. David, I know that you like me and you like my business and you like the solution I presented. I'd really like your order. Now, a month later, we got back together and I and other people involved in the conversation were very eager to find out how Nick had got on. And he said to me, I did exactly what you said. I called them, I set an appointment up, I went to see him, and I said, David, I like you, you like me, you like my product, you like my service, you like my business. I'd really like your order. And he looked at me and said, you know what, Nick, I guess I've been messing you about. Here's the order. Now, it isn't as straightforward as that. What Nick had done beforehand is that he'd actually presented a solution that they wanted. But what he'd also done is he'd eliminated any reason for him not to get the order. And that was the critical thing. It's just that he hadn't made that final step. He had to actually ask that question instead of waiting for the client to tell him something different. When you assume something, you have to be very careful. But the assumptive close allows you to think about all the avenues and all the reasons why you may not get the order. So it allows you to construct an argument as to why you should get the order. They've then got to tell you why you're not going to get it. And if they tell you why you're not going to get it, that to me is an opportunity for you to explain why they need to place the order with you.